but they are also academic advisors. So these are your points of contact depending on which pathway you enter the School of Nursing. So for our prospective students that maybe enter as a first-time freshman or an upper division transfer student or through the accelerated BSN pathway, your academic advisor, if you get accepted, would be my colleague here, Michelle. For those of you that are maybe at a community college and pursue an ADN or an associate degree in nursing, and then later transfer on to finish your bachelor's degree here with us, that's through the RN to BSN pathway. Your academic advisor would be my colleague Ashley over here. And then last but not least, if you're looking at graduate school, we've got master's programs too. So if you just love Cal State Fullerton so much, you love the School of Nursing, you want to stay with us, which we really hope you do. Our graduate advisor is my supervisor here, Rachel. So we've got someone for you. All of us are skilled in answering your questions. So you can reach any one of us at this email, nursing@fullerton.edu. At Cal State Fullerton, we offer 4 different pathways for you to get that Bachelor of Science of Nursing, or BSN as it's often referred to. The first 3 are what are called pre-licensure pathways. So that's our traditional BSN. So that's direct entry for students coming in directly from high school. Then we have our upper division transfer pathway for students that are pursuing an associate's degree or just getting some units at a community college and are looking to transfer in to finish that bachelor's degree. And then we have the accelerated BSN, which is for students that are post-bac students. So you've got a bachelor's degree, maybe even a master's in another field. And then time goes by, you say, I don't really like what I'm doing. I'm going to make a career switch and go into nursing. We have that option for you too. And then last but not least, we have the RN to BSN pathway, which is for those students that complete an associate degree in nursing. You come in, take about a year or so to finish that bachelor's degree. So we'll talk about these. We'll answer those questions. As you can see, these first 3 have this nice little orange asterisk. That means they are impacted. And what that means is that we get more applications than we have available seats, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the selection process, and we'll talk about all your options. My goal here is not to scare you. I just want to be realistic, and we'll answer those questions for you as we go along. So a little bit about pre and post licensure, fancy wordage, verbiage. I just want to make sure you know what that means. Essentially, pre-licensure is for students that have no prior nursing experience or no prior nursing education. So you're kind of fresh and you're looking for a pathway to get that nursing education to be eligible to sit for the NCLEX and be a licensed registered nurse. So our pre-licensure pathways are traditional BSN, the upper division transfer, the accelerated BSN, or at the community college, the associate degree in nursing. The post-licensure, that's for students that have completed nursing education, are eligible to sit for the licensing exam. And so that's the RN to BSN. And master's and doctoral programs, so the MSN or our Doctor of Nursing practice as well. So I'll cover each pathway as we go along. So the traditional BSN, as I mentioned, is for our high school students, our high school seniors looking to enter Cal State Fullerton directly from high school. So what you have to do is, first of all, complete your high school diploma, right? Complete your A through G courses that you do by graduating. We are currently, or actually no longer, requiring the SAT or the ACT for admissions purposes. And then you submit 1 application, which is through Cal State Apply. So if you're looking to start fall of 2023, that application is actually open now. And so it'll be available through until November 30th. So when you search Cal State Apply, nursing at Cal State Fullerton, you'll see traditional BSN as an option. You want to make sure to select that. Once you're admitted, you have the option to pursue this pathway either in a 4 or a 5-year track. The curriculum is the same. The end goal is the same. Honestly, the only difference is how long it takes you to complete your prerequisites. So if you want to complete your prerequisites in a year, you're on a 4-year track. If you want a little bit more time, you're on the 5-year track. Again, no difference. The end goal is still the same. And then you do have to maintain a GPA of a 3.0 while completing all the general education classes as well as your nursing major courses. The requirements for admissions for our transfer students through the upper division transfer and the accelerated BSN are pretty similar. The only difference is the fact that the accelerated BSN, obviously you have to have completed a bachelor's degree at least. So for admissions requirements, we're looking that you complete the required prerequisites, which we'll talk about here in a second. Qualify for transfer admission to Cal State Fullerton. So that means having your 60 transferable units, completing your Golden 4, and meeting the university GPA requirements. As I mentioned, for the accelerated BSN, you do need to have a previous bachelor's degree. And then both of these pathways, applying to these pathways is kind of a two-part process, right? So the first part is completing your Cal State Apply application, which again, if you're looking to start fall of 2023 is open right now. And you want to get that submitted by November 30th. And then afterwards, you have to submit a supplemental School of Nursing application. So that application is actually available through our website and will be available from December 1st through January 15th. We'll also require that you provide transcripts, both unofficial and official. So your unofficial transcripts will be uploaded with your School of Nursing application, and then your official transcripts get sent directly to the Office of Admissions. And we'll talk about those deadlines. And I'll try to build in some time here to also navigate the website so that way you can see where you can refer back to this information. So about those prerequisites, and again, this is only for our upper division transfer students or our accelerated BSN students. So we're looking for that you have anatomy, physiology, and microbiology completed. We do require chemistry. This actually needs to be updated. The chemistry is, we no longer require an integrated chemistry course. You can have it completed if you have already done so. We'll consider it for additional points for the fall 23 application cycle. But moving forward, starting with fall 23 onward, we're looking that you complete a chemistry course. It can be general chemistry, organic, or inorganic. We're also accepting chemistry for allied health. And then if you have any questions about the specific chemistry, you can always reach out to us and we can answer that question as to whether or not the chemistry course would be accepted. You do need to have your Golden 4 completed. So that's oral communication, written composition, and critical thinking. You'll need a college level math, which sometimes can be statistics. So you want to meet with your counselor at your community college to make sure that the stats class that you're taking not only satisfies the School of Nursing requirements, but can also satisfy the Golden 4 requirements. And then we do have these additional courses. They're not necessarily prerequisites, but we do encourage students to have them completed prior to sorry about that, prior to starting the pathway. So that's introduction to psychology, and then either introduction to sociology or cultural anthropology. So these classes are part of the curriculum for the degree. And if you get accepted without having these classes completed, then they would have to be completed within the first semester of nursing school. Now, the first semester of nursing school for both of these pathways is already very rigorous unit-wise. So that's why we encourage students to have this completed prior to. Okay, I'm almost done. So I just want to check in. How's everybody doing? Can I get a thumbs up, or is everybody still with me, or did we log off? All right, got some thumbs up. All right, thank you all so much for sticking around. Resources, we have a number of them for you, and we'll go through some of these. We know that applying to nursing school can be very stressful. It can be very confusing. So we want to make sure that we can provide you all with as much information as possible. Now, with that being said, again, sometimes that can be very overwhelming. So what we recommend students do is actually take some time and break up reading the website, because in one sitting, you know, you're going to be showered with all this information. You're going to get a headache, and then you're going to say, absolutely not. I have no, you know, you may not be able to retain it all, right? So you want to give it a few visits. You want to ask your questions early. And then you want to make sure to have options. We'll talk about those options here in a second too, of institutions that you can consider, different pathways that you can consider as well. Our website is updated constantly, very frequently, and everything is up to date. So if anything changes on our end, we're going to update our website. So you want to go ahead and flag that. And if you're looking to apply fall 23, honestly, later on too. So that way you can be first to know as to what's going on. It has the information about our selection system and our point system. And again, we don't require integrated chemistry anymore, but it does have a sample course description for some of the classes and the prerequisites that we would accept. So we'll take a look at that. I would write down this website, nursing.jnj.com. That's the Discover Nursing page from Johnson & Johnson. It's a really good resource because it has a lot of information about the nursing field in general. Also has some nursing scholarships that you all can consider applying to. And then lastly, we have the Board of Registered Nursing page. I would also write that down because it includes a list of all the nursing programs in California, and would help you figure out, you know, what schools to consider, where they're located, and kind of help you out with your research there. So, promised it was a super short presentation. I'm going to go ahead and take some questions. I know I've got some in the chat, so let me open that up really quick. But just to check in again, is everybody still doing all right?
Yes. Are you able to provide us
Perfect.
with of the presentation?
Yeah. So I don't have, we can see if we can send that out. I think it's being recorded, so this can be sent out too, but I'll also go ahead. We have some time. I'll share the screen again, and I can show you all the website. That way you can also see where to access some of this information. Actually, all of this information, because all of this information is on our website. So let's see. Chats. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so yes, this will be added to the Outreach website, so you'll have access to this recording. Let's see, is there a set curriculum? Yes, we do have a set curriculum for all of our pathways. So I'll share the website here in a second, and that way you can see where to find the curriculum, where to read those course descriptions, so that we have a better understanding as to what you'll be covering, right? Let's see. How many people apply every year? That's a good question. I'll break it down per pathway. So for our high school direct entry pathway, we have probably about, I think this last year we had probably about 2,000 applications, and we only accept 40 students. I'm going to give you all a second to take that in. That being said, that's not to discourage you again. We want to make sure that you've got your options, but we want to be realistic of the fact you'll see that nursing is impacted throughout California. So it's going to be competitive regardless of the pathway that you choose, right, or follow. So that's for our traditional students or our freshman students. Our upper division transfer pathway is actually a new pathway that just opened up this fall semester. We did have probably about 600 applicants, and we had 10 available seats. So the way it works is that our upper division transfer pathway actually feeds in with the traditional pathway. So what happens is, let's go back, we accept those 40 students, those 40 first year students to come into Cal State Fullerton. Because they apply directly to the nursing program, they will be taking their prerequisites here at Cal State Fullerton. And as some of you all know, these prerequisites help folks understand whether or not the field is for them. And so some students say, this is not for me. They switch majors, whatever the case is. And so not all 40 students make it through all those prerequisites, right? And that's how those seats open up for our transfer students, our upper division transfer students. So the number of seats available for our upper division transfer students is going to vary per year. And I will say, again, we had 10 seats for about 600 students that applied. Looking at fall 23, I don't know the numbers just yet, but I think we'll have maybe at least 5. But again, we'll see where the semester takes us. And then for the accelerated BSN pathway, we have, it's a cohort-based program again, and the cohort size is 40. We had probably about the same 400 to 600 students apply. Okay, so for our traditional BSN pathway, the application is through Cal State Apply. So that's the one application you need to submit. We do require letters of recommendation and an essay, which can all be submitted through Cal State Apply. So the application for the School of Nursing, the supplemental application, again, is only for our upper division transfer students and for our accelerated BSN students. That application will actually open December 1st through our website. What's the best time to submit your applications? We will say the earlier the better. However, that doesn't give anybody, additional consideration. An application submitted on the very first day is looked at the same way as the application submitted on the last day. Now, with that being said, I don't want you all to wait until the last day because we understand technology sometimes isn't our best friend, right? So systems crash, you can't get your application in. The last thing I want is for you all to try to email us or email everyone you can about, a system error on the last night. So the earlier the better. So for those of you, so I've got some questions here about dual enrollment. So for those of you that are in high school taking dual enrollment classes at your community college, I will say this. The traditional BSN pathway is cohort-based, and with you having transfer college credit, that doesn't necessarily shorten the amount of time that you'll be here. You can still at least expect to be here for 4 years. But it can lighten the load. So gives you some flexibility there. And it also allows for you to maybe be able to pursue some electives that other students may not. Maybe you want a double major, maybe you want to obtain a minor. Having that transfer credit coming from those dual enrollment classes can benefit you in that way. Just know that it doesn't exactly shorten the program because it is still a cohort-based program. Yes, I do believe the CSU app does ask that you list the classes that you're currently taking. Please do that to the best of your ability. And don't forget, you'll still need to submit your transcripts. Can you switch your major to nursing? Good question. So what's going to happen, I think this can be applied to everybody. So for our first-time students or first-year students, when you apply, it's my understanding that you have the option, you'll list, nursing as your first choice major, but you also have the option to select an alternate major, just in case you don't get accepted. Let's say you decide to continue with Cal State Fullerton, you come in under that second major. You cannot, once you're a current student, switch your major to something else. What would have to happen is you would complete your bachelor's degree in that major, and then you can consider our accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing pathway. And then the same thing for our transfer students, you apply directly. Well, actually, for our transfer students, you would apply directly to the major. I don't believe you're offered an alternate major to select from. So then we would have to have a conversation about, what some of your next steps are, how can you improve your application, and then wait until the next application cycle to apply. Question, do you have to have a BSN to be able to be an RN? So the answer for that is technically no. So the way that you can become the RN comes from being a registered nurse, from passing the NCLEX, which is the licensing exam, which is issued and overseen by the Board of Registered Nursing here in California. So something that you can do is, as again mentioned, one of your options can be to apply to an associate degree in nursing, which is offered at community colleges throughout the area. And they all have their own set of application requirements. So you want to reach out to those institutions. And once you complete that program, though, you are able to sit for the NCLEX. And once you pass that, you can start working as a registered nurse, right? Then it's kind of up to you to decide, well, when or if, most likely when, to follow up and get that bachelor's degree, because we're seeing that a lot of employers, especially hospitals, are encouraging their staff to get that bachelor's of science in nursing. And if that's the route that you end up going, again, we do have an RN to BSN option, which helps you finish off that bachelor's degree. If you're a high school junior, thank you for being here with us tonight. I do believe you're a year in advance, so don't apply just yet. Apply this time next year, okay? But thanks for being here so soon. Yes, we do take honors classes. Sorry, I know there was a hand up, and I'm still trying to make it through these chat questions. So let's see. I do have the ability to meet with students on an individual basis. So I have that link on our website. And again, I'll make time to show you on the website so you can see all of this information that we're covering. And we can talk about, your options, answer any questions that you may have. This particular question is talking about the essay. So I won't review an essay with you, but we can definitely talk about maybe some of the things that our faculty look at in the essays. For those of you that go the community college route, the time of completion will kind of vary depending on a number of different things. We understand that life happens, so just know that we don't have what's called a recency requirement. So sometimes institutions, will want you to have classes taken within a certain amount of time, maybe 5 to 7 years. That's not the case for us. So just keep that in mind. Okay, for transfer students that are applying for fall 2023, if you happen to have any classes in progress, that doesn't necessarily put you in a disadvantage, but you want to make sure that when you submit your transcripts, both unofficial and official, that class is listed as being in progress. That way we know it's coming. That way we continue to consider your application and we know to expect a grade. Note that for the spring semester, you're only allowed to have 2 prerequisite classes in progress, and only one of them can be a science. And again, that's for our transfer students. If you all decide to come to Cal State Fullerton under a different major, you can take those prerequisite classes here at Cal State Fullerton. You would just want to talk with your academic advisor to make sure that you're still meeting the requirements for the degree for your degree plan, and see when completing some of those prerequisites would be the best time. the curriculum within the nursing program, you do go to clinicals, you do go to different hospital sites as well. It will definitely depend on the pathway that you're in, but all of our pathways do have, some form of clinical that is required. If you're looking to get experience as a high school student, my best recommendation is honestly to volunteer. I know it might be a challenge because of COVID, and this is actually also applicable to our transfer students. But volunteering, I say, is the best option. You want to do it somewhere where you're either being supervised by a doctor or a registered nurse, and you're providing patient care, right? To the extent that you can, not necessarily in an administrative type of position. So I think that would give you the best experience without having to, go to school, get a license of some other sort. That's my recommendation. When it comes to recommendation letters for our direct entry students, we don't weigh the recommendation letter from somebody more than the other one, right? So one from a teacher or a science teacher does not weigh more than that from a volunteer coordinator, right? So we just want to make sure that the individuals that are recommending you know you, and can speak to, your work ethic, your academic abilities, what you would bring to the nursing profession, to CSUF, things along that area. Yes. So for our transfer students, if you have one of the licenses that we award points for, if you're not currently working, that is okay. As long as the license may be still active or was active within the last 10 years, you are still able to submit that for consideration for work experience. First year students, you just need to submit your Cal State Apply application. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's see, I'm reading through these, see if I haven't answered any of them yet. Oh, this is not good one. Competitive GPA. Yeah. So the competitive GPA is going to vary on the pathway. And honestly, it's going to vary based on the application pool. So that varies annually. I can't give you a straight number because it's not necessarily something that we we don't share it because, again, it'll change. I will say what we've seen in the last few years is, for example, our traditional direct entry students, that GPA tends to be as close to a 4.0 as possible. And then I guess you can say it's kind of similar with our transfer pathways. The higher, the better. Now, just because you don't have a 4.0 doesn't mean we're not going to look at your application. You just want to make sure to do whatever you can to maintain a high and competitive GPA. For our first-time direct entry students, if you're interested in being a nursing major, you should list that as your first choice. That would be the only way for us to consider your application. Any class, when you're filling out your Cal State Apply, any class that's in progress, I don't know if there's an option for there to select like in progress. But again, you can fill that out to the best of your ability. Ooh, AP test. So about AP test, you want to make sure to submit those official grade reports and to provide an unofficial copy of those grade reports if you're a transfer student. It obviously will help you with meeting some of those prerequisites if it's applicable. And we unfortunately have had to deny so many applicants because they don't submit that part of the application. You know, they say, oh, well, it's not going to count for anything, or it's on my community college transcript. We still need to see the original grade report. So if it's been a few years, please go ahead and contact College Board now, because it's going to take them, I think, probably about 2 weeks to find your scores and send them out. So as soon as you can do that, please, the better. Okay, so I think I've covered a big chunk of these questions. Let me go ahead, if everyone's okay with that, I'll go ahead and share our website. So we're still sharing that. I'm going to share our website, and then that way you can see, oh, actually, let me go ahead and also. So this is what I was talking about. This is the website from the Board of Registered Nursing. I'm actually going to go ahead and share it with you all. This has the list of all the nursing programs in the state of California. So this helps you with your research. It breaks it down by degree type. So associate degree programs that we talked about, bachelor's degree programs. And if anybody out there is looking at a second bachelor's degree or the accelerated BSN, you can also consider what's called an entry-level master's. But again, that's only for students that already have a bachelor's degree. Let's look at our website. So when you're viewing our website, you want to make sure to do this on a desktop or a laptop. That's the best way to look at all the different menu items. So we're going to go here to either programs or prospective students. Either tab works. I like this one just because it shows everything already. But as you can see, we've got our undergraduate programs, or our BSN programs, our graduate programs, so that's the MSN, and then our doctoral programs. And then we have these different options. So we have the traditional BSN, which is for our entry level first year students coming directly from high school. I know it's on here, the CSUF student pathway, but that pathway is no longer available. We just keep it on there because we do have a few students that are still finishing that pathway. But again, that's not open. You'll want to consider either the upper division transfer pathway or the accelerated BSN. We did at one point have an LVN to BSN, but again, that's no longer active. It's still on there because we have a few students that are finishing up that pathway. The accelerated BSN and then the RN to BSN. I will note that aside from this info session, I also have additional information sessions. So if you click here at the bottom, you can register for one. Obviously, we have the one here tonight, although it is catered to our transfer students. But if you want one specifically for our transfer students, or depending on the pathway of your interest, you can definitely register for one. And then I'm going to say this, and there may be a delay because I anticipate a whole lot of emails coming through. But if after tonight and after you read the website, you still have a question that was not answered, you can meet with me. So if you click here, advising appointment request, this will show up and I would need you to complete this form. So this form provide me with your availability. You can also ask your question on here. So if it's something that can be answered through email, I can go ahead and answer that. But we can meet individually. I am meeting students. Everybody still enjoys Zoom. So that's the primary format. But if you want to come in person, or yeah, that would be my other offer. So if you want to come in person, we can also do that. Just make sure to note on the comments, I'd prefer an in-person meeting. But let's go by pathway. So this is the site for the traditional BSN or the direct entry pathway. And what we encourage everyone to do is to read the website. As I mentioned, we updated frequently, and everything that we talked about in that presentation is actually on here as well. So every pathway has a pathway overview tab. So you'll get to know exactly what who is best suited for this pathway. We have a curriculum tab, which will help you cover cover what you'll be covering while you're in the pathway. What you have to do to stay in the pathway, and gives you a sample schedule of what you can anticipate. Again, if you have those AP classes, some of those AP classes will satisfy some of these requirements. So that's where your coursework can be lightened, and you can consider either a minor or a double major. And this is a conversation that you would have with your academic advisor, who at this point is Michelle. What she does at orientation is helps you create an academic plan. So she'll go through this, see what classes you've already taken, and help you visualize what your upcoming schedule will look like. And then if you keep scrolling down again, you can see a sample semester schedule, and you can also read the course descriptions, so you can see exactly what you'll be taking when you take those nursing classes. Every tab has an admissions requirements section, so it'll also break down exactly what we'll need. Every pathway has an application process tab. And then every pathway also has a selection tab. So for example, for our traditional BSN students, this is what we are looking for. We'll look at grade trends, your letters of recommendation, your statement of purpose, and then those top applicants are invited to interview. And from there, that's where we select the incoming 40 students. Every pathway also has a frequently asked questions section. So you want to make sure to read this first. And again, if this doesn't answer it, then you can always reach out to us. And then everyone also has an Apply Now tab, which will link you either to Cal State Apply or the School of Nursing application, or both, just depending on what is suitable for you. Going to the upper division transfer pathway, kind of the same format again. You get your overview, you get the curriculum, sample schedule, course descriptions, if you scroll down, a section for admission requirements, covers GPA as well, what we look for prereq courses. We talk about the two-part application process, and also includes deadlines for your official transcripts. We do have additional notes, so you want to make sure to scroll down. Just so you all know, our upper division transfer students, we don't require you to submit letters of recommendation, and then we don't require the TEAS nor the HESI. For our transfer students, this page is a really important one, the prerequisite courses tab. It'll talk about our repeat rules, what we consider passing, our first attempt guidelines, and then sample course descriptions for some of the classes. Now, again, this is a sample course description of the class that we'll accept, but if you still have a question, you're still not sure whether or not your class would be accepted, you can always scroll all the way down. And you see this blue button right here, review of prerequisite courses. You click on that and it leads you to this. You fill out this form. Again, this is just for our transfer students. And provide the course information. I get an email, and then I'll let you know whether or not we would accept the class. Again, you have the application process tab, breaks down the first and second part. the selection process. So again, this is just for our transfer students. Every application is going to be reviewed based on this School of Nursing admission criteria first, and we will calculate your points. So as you can see, we'll look at cumulative GPA, your prerequisite GPA, if you have proficiency in a second language, any work or volunteer experience, completion of the additional courses, which are psychology and sociology or cultural anthropology, residency, and by that we just mean what county you live in. We do consider your military status. And then just for the fall 2023 application cycle, you'll receive additional points if you complete an integrated chemistry class. So once those points get tallied up, our top applicants are then invited to submit a interview and also a personal statement. And so from there, our faculty review those as well, and they provide us with their recommendations on who to admit into the pathway. We cover the admission timeline here as well. Again, you have a frequently asked questions page and the apply now. So because this does require the supplemental School of Nursing application, on December 1st, when you click here, you'll see a big blue button that says apply now, and it'll take you to the School of Nursing application. So I'm going to check in for a second on the chat and give you all maybe a second to kind of process everything that we've talked about here. So let me see. For our direct entry students, if you're submitting your letters of recommendation, you do have to list your recommender as on there. So they'll get, write their name, their email, and they'll get a notification saying, so-and-so listed you as a recommender. Here's what you have to do. For our transfer students, the proficiency in a second language is actually self-reported at the moment. So we're not requiring you to submit any additional documents or complete any additional classes. But just note, obviously, you don't want to oversell yourself if it's not applicable. If needed, we can always go back and ask for additional documentation. And then those of you in the traditional upper division and accelerated pathways, if you are a top candidate, you will be asked to interview. And then after interviewing is when you would be considered for full admission. Okay. What are we looking for in a statement of purpose essay? So that's a good question. So I don't know the prompt exactly, but essentially things that we're looking for are for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, for you to tell us not necessarily like your academic accomplishments, because we have seen that in your application. We see that in your transcripts. Who are you as a person? How is coming to Cal State Fullerton going to benefit you? How do your goals and vision align with our goals and mission? What are you going to do with this education afterwards? Things along those lines. So it's definitely something that you can kind of start to work on now, just to prepare to kind of have an idea. So once you go in to write it, if you're one of those students, then you at least have some structure and some background. For those of you that are transfer students that are still needing to complete sociology or cultural anthropology and psychology, you can do that at your community college. Literally the nearest one, whatever works for you. If you have questions like a specific institution, you can always reach out via email, and we can talk a little bit more about that. Oh, okay. This one's a good one. So what if the person that was going to write you a letter of recommendation can no longer do it, but you listed them on the Cal State Apply app? I'm going to actually tag in our outreach representative here. Emily, would you happen to know the answer to that question? Oh, perfect. We're trying to figure that out. We'll get an answer for you hopefully by the time this ends. Let's see. If you have an in progress, for transfer students, if you have a class that's in progress, a prerequisite that's in progress, how does that get calculated into GPA? It wouldn't, because it's in progress, so we don't actually have a grade for it. We would calculate your GPA once we have a final grade. For direct entry applicants, I don't know that Cal State Apply makes you submit unofficial transcripts. If not, I believe the only thing you would have to submit is official. But if like Cal State Apply asks you to submit it, just please go ahead and do so there. Yes, if you are taking an AP test later on in May, you can absolutely send that test report over once you get the score. Perfect. So I took that break in between, but we can talk about the accelerated BSN as time's wrapping up here. But again, the format for the accelerated BSN is still the same. We've got the overview here, the curriculum with the class schedules and the course descriptions. We've got admission requirements here as well. The prerequisite courses, still very similar to the upper division transfer pathway, also includes the magical blue button for you to submit your course information if you have any additional questions about a specific class. Now, please note that when you're filling out this form as a transfer student, I can only tell you whether we would accept a class for these categories for your sciences, right? Anatomy, physiology, microchem, and stats. If you have questions specifically about the Golden Four, reach out to your counselor because they will actually be able to assist you with making sure that you are satisfying those requirements. Application process, same. The selection process, very similar there. We're still looking at the same things. The admission timeline is the same as well. And then you also have a frequently asked questions section, and the apply now button will have the blue button for you to submit the School of Nursing application once that opens in December. And then last but certainly not least, we have our RN to BSN pathway. So for any of you that, if you end up pursuing what's called the associate degree in nursing, and then later want to come to Cal State Fullerton to complete your bachelor's of science in nursing, we have that pathway. It has here on the page still the pathway overview. We have the curriculum. So this one's structured a little bit different. I will say it's the most flexible of our pathways because it is geared toward the working nurse. A lot of our students do this as a part-time as they are either looking for new graduate programs, looking for employment, working on taking the NCLEX. So this is definitely the most flexible. The admission requirements for this one are different, so you want to make sure to review these. One of the biggest ones is that you do need to have an associate degree in nursing. And then the prerequisite requirements, we're still looking for anatomy, physiology, microbiology, chemistry, and stats, but the GPA, the cumulative GPA requirement is less than the other pathways. The prerequisite courses, again, you have to satisfy the university requirements and the School of Nursing requirements. The application process, this pathway actually admits in both fall and spring, while all the other pathways only admit for fall. The selection process, currently this pathway is not impacted. So we are actually able to admit as many eligible applicants that apply. Now, again, please note that in order to be eligible for this pathway, you do need to have an associate degree in nursing first. So they have, those are offered at a community college and they have their own set of requirements. So please reach out to those institutions if that's something that you're interested in. The admission timeline. You'll be able to, the same apply now button, which will link you to the Cal State Apply application. We have our frequently asked questions. And then we have information about this Jumpstart option, which the Jumpstart option is specifically, again, for students that are in an associate degree in nursing program and would like to take classes over the summer. Take a couple of classes from our RN to BSN curriculum as well. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen. I know there's a couple of questions in the chat.
I have a question.
Yes.
I couldn't hear if you answered my question, but how can we complete the additional courses before entering the program? Like, can we complete them by, like, in the summer?
So you would actually, if you're applying for fall, you'd have to have them done the spring prior. So you can do them either like during the winter term, during the spring term. If, again, they're not exactly required for you to come into the pathway, but it would just be recommended that you have them completed prior to. So we can talk a little bit more if you want to set up an appointment, and maybe we can look at your timeline, see when would be the best time for you to apply in order for you to get those classes in.
Okay, thank you. Because for this summer, I wanted to do the CNA, like a CNA program. But if we are not able to take those courses, can we take them like by your first semester?
You can take them during the first semester. Just note that if you get in without having those classes completed, that first semester is already pretty heavy unit-wise. So it's definitely a conversation to have as to how you are going to manage the units for that first semester in addition to those two classes. So definitely something that we can talk about.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course. Let's see. Do we accept transfer students from Fullerton College? Yes. We work with all the local area community colleges, Fullerton, Santa Ana, Orange Coast, anything that's all the nearby colleges in Orange County, LA County, San Bernardino, and then Riverside County as well. So we work with all of them. And then Isabel, I do see that you have your hand up.
Hello, I had a question. So if you were to get your RN degree in a community college and then you transfer to get your BSN, would it take another 4 years once you transfer, like right away, or would it take 2 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's not going to take, well, I'm going to actually say it'll depend. So if you are a full-time student and do the RN to BSN pathway after finishing that associate degree in nursing, it'll take you a year, so 2 semesters. But a lot of our students do it part-time because, as I mentioned, they're working, they're doing new grad programs. So they'll take, that part-time student load 1 to 2 classes, depending on the semester, right? So sometimes our part-time students can finish that pathway in about 3 to 5 semesters.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of course. Oh, good question. That summer option, the Jumpstart option that we talked about just now, that's actually only available for students that are doing or planning to apply to the RN to BSN pathway and are enrolled in an associate degree in nursing program at a community college. So it is 7 o'clock. Thank you all so much. I know we talked about a lot of things and we've covered a lot of information. So I'm going to go ahead and just do like a last call. Anything else that we need to talk about, want answered? I do want to be respectful of your time this evening. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you that are high school seniors, you can, so those additional classes, psychology, sociology, or cultural anthropology, that's only required for our transfer students. Obviously, you can take those as maybe like a dual enrollment class while you're in high school if that's available, and can definitely be, that credit can be accepted, as you're finishing your prerequisites. So it's not required that you take them, but if you can, but if you want to, as a dual enrollment student, you can. And then this meeting, I believe, will be posted on the outreach website. So if you ever need to access it, it'll be available to you. All right. And then if we have any more specific questions, again, I don't know, Emily, I'm happy to stick around a few extra minutes, but being 7 o'clock, if you all want to head out, I completely understand. Thank you all so much for being here. Emily, anything you would like to add in or take all the space?
No, thank you so much. This is our most visited webinar so far. So it's always popular every semester. We will be posting this on both our website and our YouTube. So stay posted for that for everyone. And again, visit the websites that have been listed. We put a lot of them in the chat. And if you do have a specific question that I said that I was checking in with you, I've grabbed your email, so I'll go ahead and email that to you so that you have that information. But I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for joining. This was super helpful for me, and I know all the students as well.
So again, thank you so much. If you want to set up an individual appointment, if you just want to email me your questions, I look forward to those emails. Again, I do try to reach out or reply back, within 24 to 48 hours. So you'll definitely hear back from us. So thank you all so much. Have a good evening.